Hey folks, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel. It's later in the day on Saturday, July the 26th. If you saw my earlier video, you know that I was heading off into town, unsupervised as well. It was quite a nice visit actually. I had my appointment, I went to the farmer's market, even bought myself a coffee and a muffin. All possibly forbidden in my dietary things, but you know what they say, what the eye doesn't see, the heart doesn't grieve. And very nice. And then I came back and actually made an archery video for my good friend and fellow YouTube creator Lee from Inside the Distance. If you've not visited Lee's channel, I recommend you do so. Top quality stuff. Then this afternoon, after my chores were finished, I sat down and I looked at the Ring magazine. And there's an interesting story about Daniel Dubois, who of course came profoundly unstuck in the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world fight at Wembley Stadium on the 19th against Olexander Usyk. The Ring magazine says that, starts off by saying, Daniel Dubois vows to rebuild again after falling short in Olexander Usyk rematch, which really and truly it shouldn't have ever been a rematch, right? It was all this complete bogus BS about, low blow and fake controversy. I mean, Usyk stopped Dubois off a jab in the 9th round, I think, of their first fight, where Usyk, clipped him, and Daniel chose to let the clock run out. And here in the 5th, a little bit more vigorously stopped, and I think again Daniel Dubois chose not to continue. But anyhow, I'm sure that the British boxing establishment won't let us talk about that. Oh no, it'll, anyhow, can't say that he quit. Oh, sorry. Anyhow, the Ring magazine says, much like against Anthony Joshua back in September when Dubois that is, comprehensively beat Anthony Joshua, Dubois was so confident he would beat Olexander Usyk that he launched a pre-fight party to celebrate. I think that's bogus as well. I suspect that Daniel Dubois would have much rather sat in the corner and, worked with his colouring books than have some sort of party. I suspect that the party was orchestrated by Stan or Dave Dubois, one and the same, I'm led to believe. Anyhow, it says that Usyk walked into their July 19th rematch the same way he walks out of all his fights, with his hand raised in victory. That doesn't actually make a lot of sense, but he didn't walk in there, but he should have walked out both times. However, then there's the Ring magazine talks about how Dubois had this great run after he was first stopped. We all know the story. Miller, Hrgovic, and AJ. The sequel, the Ring magazine is saying it started aggressively, but Usyk quickly found his rhythm and had the measure of the 27-year-old, dropping him in the 5th before delivering a devastating left hook to finish seconds later. Okay, I'm not sure if Dubois started aggressively or not. In my eyes, Dubois looked at sea. He looked completely lost from beginning to end. At the most charitable I could be, I might have said that the 3rd round was even, but really, when I was scoring it, I didn't think so. So I would say, in the total amount of rounds that Dubois has fought against Usyk, I'm not even sure if I'd give him the 5th round in the first fight, to be honest, because once Usyk got off the ground, he went back into I'm in charge mode. And in this fight, so what was that, 9, 10, 14 rounds? Would you say that Dubois had 1 even, 2 even? I don't know. Anyways, the Ring magazine says, Team Dubois admittedly were not the kindest with their words and insinuations of cheating during the build-up. Well, that's an understatement, Ring magazine. Though once the dust started to settle, Dubois himself accepted defeat and tipped his cap to the unbeaten Ukrainian. Quote, "It didn't go my way," Dubois told the ring afterwards. "Congratulations to Olexander Usyk, a great champion." Good words. Like I say, in any number of videos I've done on Daniel Dubois, I've tried very hard not to criticize him personally, though of course he also is the individual who ran his mouth about Joe Joyce's mum, if you remember. Joe Joyce's mum, who is visually impaired. It was interesting that Joe Joyce stopped Dubois when he allegedly cracked his orbital bone. Karma, I believe, is the word. The Ring magazine goes on to say, despite the nature of his third defeat, so 2 at the hands of Usyk and 1 at the hands of Joe Joyce, all of which, remember, he let the clock run out. Big difference between, say, a Daniel Dubois and, well, whether you like him or not, AJ went out on his shield. AJ kept on getting up until he couldn't get up anymore. But I was actually thinking a big difference between Daniel Dubois and, say, a Fabio Wardley. I have a sneaking suspicion you'd have to nail Wardley to the canvas. Just one guy's opinion. The Briton has built up, this is talking about Dubois again, the Briton has built up enough credit to not need much before returning to the map. So I guess what they're saying is, something that we've said on this channel, it doesn't need to go snakes and ladders. He doesn't have to go back down, way down. And I think that's fair. I mean, Dubois is still one of the top heavyweights around. I wouldn't put money. Who would I think would beat him? I wouldn't put money on anybody beating him, to be perfectly honest. Maybe Fury, if he's fit. I wouldn't put money on AJ winning a rematch. I think against another big bull, Dubois is still very solid. Flat track bully, I think, personally. So anyhow, Frank Warren has confirmed that Daniel Dubois would be out for the rest of 2025, but the ring's number 2 rank still owns heavyweight higher ratings among the sanctioning bodies. Once he heals and decides what's next, the 8-year pro will likely have a tune-up to regain confidence before searching for another notable name. I'm not sure who he would tune up against. I guess it doesn't matter if it's just a tune-up. It's kind of like a move-around, isn't it, really? Martin Bakole and his May foe, Efe Ajagba, are just 2 options, while keeping an eye on stablemate Fabio Wardley's progress elsewhere. Now, I hate to be pedantic, but the Ring magazine's standard of writing is not what I would have liked to have seen, but hey, I shouldn't really criticize the writer, and the writer's undoubtedly getting paid more than I am getting paid. So it's not quite clear if they're talking about Bakole and or Efe Ajagba as like that warm-up, or if those are the names he's looking for. It's not quite clear the way that the English language has been sort of used in this article. Going back to Daniel Dubois, they say he'll now re-watch the technical errors made against Usyk and attempt to correct them. Well, with the greatest possible respect, I'm not sure if there were so many technical errors. However, I'll leave that to more qualified people to comment upon. Dubois ended this interview with Ring magazine by saying, "Back to work. I'll rise again." One assumes that means unless he's on the canvas. Martin Bakole, Efe Ajagba, and keeping an eye on Fabio Wardley. I would imagine that Daniel Dubois would beat Fabio Wardley, though I would be cheering for Fabio Wardley. Fabio Wardley is one of my favourite fighters. Efe Ajagba, I would expect Daniel Dubois to prevail over Efe Ajagba as well. Bakole, on the other hand, now, this assumes that the vegan Scotsman doesn't balloon to some astronomically big weight. But if the vegan, can you believe, how can a vegan be so damn fat? Never mind. The vegan Scotsman I would think that Bacoli might have the edge. It'd be a good fight. I'd like to see him against either of Fabio or Martin Bacoli. FA at Jagba, I'm sort of blow hot and cold on, to be perfectly honest. But yes, it would be interesting. I think that Dubois should be able to prevail over all of them, really. Bacoli would interest me a lot. Fury, of course. Well, he'll never fight Fury. No point me running my mouth about that. AJ, I don't think AJ is going to fight anybody unless it's Fury or Wilder. Though somebody was telling me today that there's talk of AJ fighting Tony Yoka. I don't know. We'll have to see. There's so many names being thrown around. They're thrown around like confetti at a wedding, aren't they, really? Anyhow, there we go. That's all I've got. Tomorrow, I have a regular guest slot that's being occupied by my not so regular guest. My regular guest, Jamie, is of course taking a breather, but Jerry is stepping into the breach. Jerry hasn't been on the channel for about a month, and I'm looking forward to having a good catch up with him tomorrow. So stay tuned, as they used to say on the TV stations. And with that, I'll let you go. Thanks very much for watching. Have a fabulous day, evening, whatever day it is that you're watching. And if you can, could you please hit those thumbs up like things? And if you haven't yet subscribed, wow, goodness gracious me, what's holding you back? Please hit that subscribe button. It is free, remember. I don't know actually why they call it subscribe, to be perfectly honest. I often think of subscribe as being like, oh, I have to pay money. But no, it's entirely free. And it just means that if you click the notifications thing, you'll know when I've released a fresh video, which pretty much is most days. Okay, thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.